Most of us are using AI in a way that might just be making us obsolete. But what if I told you the world's top performers are using it, well, completely backwards from the rest of us? They're not just using it to get answers, they're actually using it to train their own brains. So in this explainer, we're going to break down their 4-step framework for getting dangerously smart and doing it fast.
And yeah, this quote, it hits hard, right? Because this is the tragic reality for so many of us. It's the subtle trap where all this convenience slowly but surely chips away at our own abilities. We think we're being super efficient, but what we're really doing is training our own replacement, one prompt at a time.
So we're at a fork in the road here. We have a very clear choice. Path 1, that's the default path. It's the easy road, right? You outsource your thinking, you automate your most valuable skills, and you literally train the AI to do your job. Or there's path 2. This is the road to becoming irreplaceable. It's all about using AI to sharpen your own mind. And that's the path we're taking today.
All right, so let's dive into step 1. It's called intelligent laziness. And I know that sounds a bit weird, right? But this is all about fighting a very specific glitch in our brains that keeps us busy with trivial work so we can learn how to strategically delegate everything else. So here's that glitch I was talking about. It's called completion bias, and you've totally felt this. It's that satisfying little hit of dopamine your brain gives you for finishing any task. The problem is, this means your mind can't really tell the difference between replying to a pointless email and drafting a multi-million-dollar strategy. So when everything feels urgent, nothing is actually a priority. The solution to this is to understand that pretty much all of your work falls into one of 2 curves. The first has what's called a capped payoff. These are the tasks where good enough is genuinely good enough. Spending extra hours perfecting the fonts on an internal presentation, that's this curve. This is your zone of laziness. But the second curve, that has an uncapped payoff. Here, a tiny 1% improvement can lead to absolutely massive results. This is your zone of obsession. So for everything on that first curve, all that stuff in your zone of laziness, you need to embrace this concept from Nobel laureate Herbert Simon, satisficing. It's just a combination of satisfy and suffice. The goal isn't perfection. It's getting the job done effectively so you can move on to what really, truly matters. So how do you actually decide what to delegate? Easy. Use the drag framework. D is for drafting, getting past that terrifying blank page. R is for research, to speed up gathering information. A is for analysis, letting AI find hidden patterns in complex data. And G is for grunt work. All those boring manual tasks you just hate doing. Drag them over to the AI so you can live in your zone of obsession. Okay, so we know what to delegate. But that brings us to step 2, how to delegate it effectively. This is where we make the shift from just being a passive user of AI into becoming a really skilled director of intelligence. Now, this next part is absolutely crucial. You have to stop treating AI like a calculator. A calculator is predictable, right? 2 plus 2 is always 4. AI is a probability engine. A better way to think of it is like a drunk genius. It can be brilliant one moment and then completely make stuff up the next. You can't just ask it a question, you have to carefully architect that question. The way you become a better director is by climbing this prompting hill. Now, most people are stuck right at the bottom, using what we call zero-shot prompts, just a basic command. You can level up to one-shot prompting, where you give one clear example of what you want. But the real magic, that happens with few-shot prompting. That's where you give 3 or more examples to really teach the AI your specific style and context. And listen up, because I'm about to give you one of the most powerful phrases you can add to your prompts. It's called chain of thought reasoning. By simply asking the AI to think step by step and show its work, you force it to slow down, be more logical, and it dramatically reduces errors and those weird hallucinations. Okay, so let's recap. So far, we focused on using AI for efficiency. We're delegating better, we're prompting smarter, and this is where most people stop. But not the top 1%. Nope, they do something completely counterintuitive. And this, my friends, is the plot twist. Welcome to the Intelligent Gem. You see, the real secret of the top 1% is knowing exactly when to shift gears. They follow what's called the AI friction principle. For information tasks, like, say, summarizing a report, they remove all friction. The goal is efficiency. But for transformation tasks, the skills they need to deeply understand and internalize, they deliberately add friction, because that is how you grow.
And this is the mindset shift that changes everything. See, most people are using AI as a wheelchair for their mind. And what happens? Your mental muscles get weaker. They atrophy. The smart way is to use AI as a spotter in the gym. It's not lifting the weight for you, but it's right there beside you, letting you push yourself harder and grow stronger without getting crushed. So you're probably thinking, okay, that sounds great, but how do I actually do that? Well, here's a super practical technique, the progressive overload quiz. First, you study a concept yourself. Then you ask your AI spotter to quiz you on it, but with increasing levels of difficulty. You start simple. Quiz me like a high school student. Then you ramp it up until you're being grilled at an expert level. This is how you build real, lasting knowledge. And that brings us to our final step, step 4. And this might just be the most important one of all. We've got the tactics, we've got the strategy, but none of it works without the right internal mindset. Because the biggest obstacle to your intelligence isn't what you don't know, it's your ego. Let's just look at Microsoft for a second. When Satya Nadella took over, the company was struggling, stuck in this really toxic culture of know-it-alls where nobody could admit they were wrong. He made one monumental change. He shifted them to a culture of learn-it-alls, where it was suddenly safe to say, I don't know, and embrace a beginner's mind. And the result of that one cultural shift? Well, Microsoft's market cap grew from about $300 billion to over $3 trillion. That's a 10 times growth in a decade, and it was powered simply by giving the smartest people in the room permission to learn again. And here's the crazy part. This connects to a deep neuroscientific truth. Our brains only physically grow, it's a process called neuroplasticity, when we're right at the very edge of our abilities. That feeling of frustration, of making mistakes, that's actually the feeling of learning. So the big takeaway here is this. If you aren't feeling a little bit stupid, you probably aren't learning anything meaningful. AI gives you the ultimate safe space to be a beginner again. You can ask it the most basic, foolish questions without any fear of judgment. So I'll leave you with this. Have the courage to play the fool today so you can become the genius tomorrow. What's the one foolish question you've been afraid to ask that you'll finally explore?